Hello everybody and welcome to the Tuesday edition of Video Clips. Sorry we were dark last week, had some technical complications, but we are back on the air again. And so as usual, I will start the Tuesday broadcast with a couple of announcements. This time of year we're doing the last of everything. So the last Food Over Medicine certification course starts in just a couple weeks. The last business training boot camp starts in just a couple, 3 weeks. And of course our conference is coming up November 14 through 16 with some amazing speakers, including our star performer, Dr. Ralph Moss, who's going to show his movie, Second Opinion, talk about the making of this film. It's all about the scandal at Memorial Sloan Kettering in New York back in the 70s when the hospital decided to cover up favorable research on Laetrile. And the reason this is so important is that this sort of set the stage for cancer treatment and how the world viewed alternative cancer treatment during the next 30, 40, 50 years. So long story, won't try to go into it here, but you want to be in Columbus. The rest of the speakers are just as amazing. I'll talk about a couple more of them on Thursday. So let's talk about some health articles. I love this article I just read. According to this study, adhering to 5 lifestyle habits can reduce the risk of a heart attack by 86%. And here they are. Eat a healthy diet. Not surprising I would like this article, right? Moderate alcohol intake, smaller waist circumference, not smoking, physical activity. And this relationship between practicing these healthy habits and reduced risk of heart attack held true even for men who had hypertension and high cholesterol. The participants were men who were between the ages of 45 and 79 years of age. They were asked to fill out questionnaires that looked at 350 different lifestyle factors related to diet and lifestyle. Moderate alcohol, and they had definitions for a healthy diet, moderate alcohol, the waist circumference. I won't go into all those details, but after 11 years of follow-up, here is what the researchers found. The men who ate a diet with more fruit, vegetables, whole grains, and fish, and at the same time consumed only moderate amounts of alcohol, reduced their risk of a heart attack by 35%, as opposed to people who did none of those healthy habits. Those who ate the good diet, kept the alcohol moderate, and didn't smoke, well, their risk was lowered by 64%. If they did all of those things and then they added physical activity, the risk went down by 76%. If they did all of those things and also had a lower waist circumference, the risk was reduced by 86%. So what this study showed is that the more you do, lifestyle and diet are dose dependent. The more good stuff you do, the lower your risk of bad stuff happening to you goes down. Now, during the period of time that the study was going on, some men had heart attacks. About 25% of those heart attacks were in men who didn't eat a healthy diet and they drank too much. Half of the heart attacks took place in the group that didn't eat well, drank too much, and smoked. So those are 3 habits that you want to get rid of. Don't eat terrible food. Eat an optimal diet like the one we talk about. Don't smoke cigarettes, and if you're going to drink, not much of it is a good idea. Now, this is sad, not surprising, but sad. Out of the 20,721 men who were in this study, only 1% of them practiced all 5 healthy habits. It's sort of a microcosm for the world. I mean, let's face it, most of the people that you and I are coming in contact with are not practicing mostly healthy habits. In fact, it's the opposite. And we spend so much money in medicine on diagnostic testing and drugs and procedures. And there's more and more chatter about maybe it'd be a good idea to spend some of that energy and money and time on helping people to learn how to live better. I'm all for that. But be that as it may, the study was pretty clear. Your risk of a heart attack, and we could probably do this for every disease you don't want to get, is directly dependent on what you do. All right, now, while we're on the subject of healthy habits, even the most active people, and I'm one of them, sit too much. The problem is, first of all, our jobs are sedentary. And I wish it wasn't so. I get a chance to exercise every day, but so much of my job is sedentary. In fact, I'm sitting here talking to you. And I guess I could pace back and forth, but that might be a little distracting while I'm trying to tell you the health news today. So anyway, in addition to our jobs being sedentary, life has gotten very much easier over the last several decades. I mean, let's face it, we just don't work hard at daily living like we used to. Our jobs are easier, as I mentioned, but we take elevators and escalators instead of stairs, and We live in communities where you have to drive. I mean, it's all well and good to think about walking more, but my gosh, if I walked to work and to the library and to the grocery store, I'd spend my whole day walking, which might be fun, but it wouldn't leave me very much time to work. We have appliances that reduce our workload. I mean, let's face it, we sit on the couch, we flip the remote. So, you know, we just do a lot of sitting, and I don't see that changing anytime soon. Well, the problem with this is that the detrimental effects of sitting are well documented. The more people sit, the more they gain weight, the sicker they get. I mean, all kinds of things happen. So up until now, most of the studies that have reported this connection between sitting and early death or disease have really been association. People who have all this stuff happen to them tend to sit more, but we haven't had a physiological effect. But this new study I'm going to talk about actually established a physiological effect of a cause and effect relationship and a mechanism of action between sitting too much and your aging process. So we'll start with telomeres are the ends of DNA strands. So just think about like the laminated end of a shoestring, and that kind of gives you an idea. And as we age and our cells age, these telomeres become shorter and they fray. But the effect on the telomeres is not just a result of the years passing by. It's also a result of our habits. So our weight, our eating habits, illness, all these things contribute and can accelerate this fraying process of the telomeres. So it leads to premature aging. So in order to measure the effect of exercise on telomeres and not sitting on telomeres, Swedish researchers took blood samples from overweight men and women who were sedentary, and they measured the length of their telomeres in the white blood cells. All of these people were 68 years old. So half of the subjects were instructed as to how to start a moderate but quite personalized exercise program, and they were told, do not sit down as much. The others were just given standard general advice, you know, go home, you lose weight, you eat better, that kind of stuff. You know, the stuff that doesn't make anybody do anything. We're all familiar with that. Well, 6 months later, blood samples were obtained from all the volunteers. The group instructed to exercise was moving more and sitting less, and their telomeres had actually lengthened. In other words, moving more and sitting less had actually, just in 6 months, reversed the aging process. Now, in the group who had continued to sit, because they were just given the general advice that nobody does anything about, their telomeres had continued to shorten. So those people aged, while the people who were moving around and not sitting so much, their aging process had actually been reversed. Now, what was really interesting is the bigger effect was from not sitting, not exercising. Sitting less lengthened the telomeres as an independent factor. Now, the best recommendation is sit less and exercise more. So in other words, if you're just going to stand instead of sit, you'll make a little bit of progress, but standing instead of sitting doesn't help you lose weight, it doesn't build balance, strength, coordination, the types of things that help you to have a lean, healthy body and also to age well too. So anyway, this is really kind of in keeping with the first study that I talked about. What you do affects your health. It also affects how quickly you're cycling through the aging process. And you always find it interesting, a lot of people say that when I talk about this stuff, I don't want to live to be old, and you know, I can't see myself being 95 years old. And well, first of all, I see myself being 95 years old. I really like living. I want to stay here for as long as I can, because this thing we do every day is really fun. Not just the wellness forum, but I think life is fun. But the other thing I want to say is that people who are in my office with terminal illness, they don't want to die. They may have thought that when they got to the place where they were older and facing death, they wouldn't care. They all care. So those of you who are listening to what I had to say today, do something about it, okay? Believe me, you care about living maybe more than you admit or let on. All right, that's all for today. As usual, pass this on to anybody who you think would enjoy watching it, and I'll be back to you on Thursday with more news.